Hello there YouTube, Devin here again, and today I have a video that was a request to compare a Cg634, and this is the early model, to an ACH. But before we get into that, we need to get into the history of each of these helmets. Now if you want to learn more about the history of each of these helmets, they each have their own video. But we're going to start off with saying, alright, ACH came around in the 2000s, okay? Cg634 into the late 90s. So in order to compare the Cg634 to the ACH, I have to compare it to the helmet the US was using at the same time the Cg634 rolled off the assembly line, so to speak. So we're going to do that. We're going to get the ACH out of the way here, first of all. And we're going to put up its US counterpart of the time. Here it is, the PASGAT. The PASGAT was fielded by the US military until about the mid-2000s. As far as frontline helmet goes, it served with the Air Force and training units a lot later in the military, and the shell shape and design continued to serve with the Marine Corps even to today. So, but in 1997, when the Cg634 rolled off the assembly line, okay, this was the US counterpart, all right? Now, the Cg634 was light years ahead of other helmet technology. A lot of Canadian gear is light years ahead of its counterparts, and it's oftentimes very expensive for that, but the Canadians also make a very, very high-quality product and are world-renowned for having some of the best surplus gear in the world. If you can get your hands on it. Now, it's not without its flaws, though, so I'm not singing total praise of the Cg634. The Cg634 does have flaws, all right? But it is light years ahead of the PASGAT that was serving with it when it rolled off the assembly line in the late 90s. So, first off, we'll compare the shape. Here's the PASGAT from the front. You can see it's kind of a... Here, I'll get this off there so you could actually see the full size of the shell. There you go. So there's the PASGAT, flared ears, bill, 6 screws, which are compromising the structural integrity of the shell. We'll do a... So turn that to the side now. Now here's the front view of the Cg634. You see there's a lot less screws. It's got a lot smoother finish on it. It's still granulated. Smoother finish, has a rubber rim. Very nice, high quality rubber rim. Less screw holes. All right, screws are smaller too. Ears are flared still, pretty far. But so we'll turn these inwards now, so you can compare the side by sides. PASGAT, very flared out ears. Accepts comms and stuff like that. Very trapezoidal shape, rhombus shaped ears. Cg634 has a more bulbous shaped ears to accommodate more comms, more types of communications, and everything like that. So it was very well thought out for that reason, whereas the PASGAT was really designed just to fit US comms and similar comms. Cg634 was purpose designed to fit other types of communications as well. Okay, we'll switch to the rear here. Alright, the rear is pretty much the same. Kind of a PASGAT has these 3 screws, alright, pretty shallow taper as far as the nape goes. The Cg634 is much in the same. Screws a little bit lower, pretty shallow taper. Pretty similar shape as far as the rear of the helmet goes. But, so now we'll get into why the Cg634 is light years ahead of the PASGAT. Now, here's the PASGAT liner. 2-point chin strap. Now, if you guys have been around and you study helmets at all, you know the PASGAT, what its biggest flaw, hands down, is the chin strap. 2-point chin straps are not secure. The helmet can rock from side to side. The helmet can rock forward and back. The helmet can shift a lot with just a 2-point chin strap. All right. And if you've ever been watching, studying helmets, you'll see one of a very famous video on YouTube that started the design change for the PASGAT. All right. And the search for a new helmet and a better suspension system was that airborne trooper jumping out of the plane and his chute getting snagged, and he lost his helmet. And so you can find that video on YouTube pretty easily. Now you can see that this is also a pretty uncomfortable type of suspension. This donut can cut into your head, especially if you have no hair, and everything like that. So this is what the U.S. was using in 1997. Okay, this was the standard issue helmet, the PASGAT. Okay, now we'll move over to the Cg634. Cg634 has an easily slider adjustable chin strap. All right, leather, nice chin cup on it, leather lined chin cup. Okay, it's got this 3-point chin strap. Here you go. See, it's connected in the back here via this Y strap. Okay, which does roll from side to side to allow the helmet to move, but it's still way more secure. It's going to keep the helmet from rocking back and from side to side a lot more than the PASGAT chin strap. Okay, it also has a trauma liner in the form of this black styrofoam. All right, they remove that ring that cuts into your head. It's a lot more adjustable. All right, you could still adjust it lengthwise and widthwise. It does have pads against the shell though for more trauma impact. All right, the Cg634 is much lighter. Okay, because it's a lot thinner. Okay, it's also got a nicer rim on it. All right, the paint's a lot nicer. It doesn't chip as easy as the PASGAT. All right. So they also painted the inside to keep the resin from being exposed to air, because the resin stuff does break down to air exposure. All right, the PASGAT is made out of Kevlar, which is a heavier fiber, and it breaks down a lot faster than what the Canadians made their helmet out of. The Canadians made their helmet out of Spectre fiber, which is the same ballistically as Kevlar, but it doesn't break down, and it lasts a lot longer because of that. But it's pretty much the same weight and same ballistic effectiveness. Both these helmets are technically 3A rating, okay? Even though the PASGAT will get worse and worse and worse as it ages, well, the Cg634 will stay pretty consistent. So, now, with that being said, we can get into compare. Cg634 is still fielded, still the standard helmet, alright? But the US's standard helmet is no longer the same. They use the ACH, alright? And the ACH has arguably a better liner, arguably a worse liner. To me, it is a worse liner. But for you, it's up to decide. So now ACH from the front, all right, is a little bit different than the PASGAT. The ears aren't flared out as much. Okay, still 3 screws in the front. There's if the night vision bracket wasn't on there, it would have 1 screw right there in the front. Same heavily granulated texture. Bill was removed. Let's turn to the side here. Same kind of rhombus shaped ear pads. Bolts have been moved lower, rear bolts. All right. Still has a wider, shallower neck taper now, and rear bolt was removed, so that saves structural integrity. Okay. So the liner, as you can see, switch to all these Velcro discs and the pads. Pad type liner, which is going to give you improved shock absorption in an impact, as well as naturally a better heat retention in the winter, moisture wicking, and everything else like that, but they do tend to stink and everything like that. Cg634 suspension, all right, is adjustable for wearing under a winter hat. It's easily changeable, whereas the ACH pads are not. It's also adjustable crown with the hat, whereas the ACH pads are not. The leather does not wick sweat. The foam does not wick sweat. These pads, the chin strap does not wick sweat, but it does breathe better, so you tend to not sweat as much because it breathes better because it's a suspension type. Not as good in a trauma impact, but this is a hybrid liner, so it's actually probably just as effective in a trauma impact while still being adjustable because of all the foam that is around the suspension and everything. So, just a reminder, this came out early to mid 2000s, 1997. So, it's really up to you as your take on this. The ACH is still made out of Kevlar. It's still just as thick as the PASGAT. Still just as heavy, but the thing is, their chin strap and their pads, you see a lot of Canadians during the war in Iraq and Afghanistan ended up just purchasing ACHs because This suspension has a tendency to come loose. It's hard to repair when it's damaged. And it tends to adjust on the fly very easily because these buckles are just plastic, they're tension. So they can come undone and slide up and down very easily, and your helmet gets less comfortable and looser as you use it, essentially. And it's hard to fix that without replacing the entire liner or modifying the suspension, which is against doctrine. You're not supposed to do that. So you see a lot of troops, Canadian troops, buying an ACH because the suspension system is better. The pad system is better. It's not going to adjust on you anyways. I wouldn't say it's better, but it won't adjust on you on the fly or cause all those problems. And the shape is so similar that the Cg634 camouflage fits over this, and you just need to sew some Velcro straps on there. Sewing is something every soldier should know how to do to get that type of cover to fit over this, and it's very easy to make it look like a Cg634. And a lot of officers in the Canadian Army, even though this wasn't accepted to do, turned a blind eye to it because it was a more effective helmet because it didn't have any of the losses that the Cg634 had. Well, any of the catastrophic losses, such as the adjustability problems. So, hopefully, this answered your question. If you were looking for this, hopefully, this is exactly what you wanted out of this video. And it was everything you wanted it to be. Hopefully you liked it. If you have any other questions, additional comments, questions, concerns, additional information, please drop those in the comments, and I'll do my best to reply to those. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.